And we looked at each other like, hey, is something different about today? And they're like, yeah. And then my buddy Mike looks over at me, oh, we're gonna fucking get it today.
So if you think of the attitudes and the body language of the people that have tried to inflict violence on you, whether it's the ex-girlfriend or the guy at the bar, someone who's, let's take trained people out of it for a second.
Sure.
Is there some way or some sort of through line to people who are untrained in violence, something like Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, and are trying to inflict damage on you? Is there something that you can pick up on, like this guy looks or feels like he's about to get violent? Is there a calm before the storm? Is there anything with eye contact, the speaking patterns, something where you get a vibe of this guy or this girl? I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm getting a sensation based on my experience that this person has a higher percentage of getting violent than the other people around them.
That's a really good question. Like, and it actually delves, I'm going to go like two different routes with this. One route is like, one thing that I've seen, and I'm no different. Like, I had a cagey and kind of dicey background too. I come from a very traumatic past. Like in my childhood, I had a bunch of traumas done to me, and also, just basically seeking it out, because I guess that's what I knew, right? That's now in hindsight, that's the journey, right? Like, I always wanted to be a soldier, even from like a very small child. So there's something in there, an innate warrior within me that I knew about. But then like trauma felt more like home to me than being in it like this right now, where there's no risk, we're nice and moderate right here, So I kept sinking that out through my 20s and even into my 30s. And then so looking back on it now, like, I think a lot of that, it's just stems from trauma, even if it's a person's trauma that they're dealing with in that day, right? Like, I just got up, my girlfriend or significant other or whatever was yelling at me, my kids are all sick, now fuck, I don't know how to handle it. Plus I have all these demons that I'm battling with. I'm going to go to the bar at 3 p.m. and start getting drunk. And so it's a buildup of trauma, and you kind of see, well, what is trauma? It's a lower brain function. It's a lower, like the lizard brain, and dealing with that. And, it takes higher function to deal with that positively and progressively. So usually you hear somebody's speech start to rail off, like expletives will come in, maybe shaking or rewording things, and stuff like that. So it's you see that person take almost the lower road versus trying to figure it out, breathing.
So it's like the lizard brain kicks in right before they're violent.
Yeah. Unless they're like a true sociopath. And I've met a couple of those. And those are worrisome, because like they're breathing, they're conscious, they're calm, and they still want to, they don't resonate with you, or whatever's going on. And that's a different breed.
Could that level of maintaining a normal breath and normal heart rate, can that come from training too?
Yes.
Or do you always so you'll get a different, because you've trained more, your heart rate will stay more intact during a violent session?
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the first things I teach to the guys and girls that come in, men and women, although some girls and young boys do come here and train, but I teach that to all of them, because we all have, no matter what your background is, you've dealt with trauma. And whether it's something you've even seen with your eyes and you weren't necessarily involved with, but when you see stuff that shocks you to the core, it's no different, I don't think. It's maybe you didn't have the tactile responses or something, but it's still in there. So people will come in here stressed and stuff, and I'll go through breathing protocols, right? Like we did Breath of Fire this weekend, and that's fun, but that escalates you, right? But I'll teach them more like the box breathing or Wim Hof for recovery and stuff like that. So I believe, like, even if you're in that traumatic state as that person who's going to instill violence in someone else, maybe, and you don't want to, right? You're just days going shitty and you're kind of pushed to the brink. If you know breath techniques, at least you can pull yourself back from that edge, have a calm or a sound mind and be like, you want to know what? I need to get out of here. This place is not good for me. This place is causing the problem, right? The energies I'm in. And so I believe definitely everyone, even from like, okay, I don't have time. I don't have the money. Maybe you don't even have any desire whatsoever to ever learn how to throw a punch or learn how to escape somebody from on top of you or something. If you just learned breath, like as soon as boom, boom, that initial catalyst drops, you're breathing and you're like, oh, I see an exit, instead of being the person that's like, running directly at the threat, you know, like a chicken with its head. So it all starts with breath. It all starts with like having a sound mind, building from the center and then out, you know?
Yeah. So someone who is untrained and not a sociopath, there'll be some sort of breathing. You could tell there's a tenseness happening about them physically.
You'll see their angry breath.
Angry breath.
Angry breath, it exists right here. So you'll see just this going.
So
right here.
Deep just chest breathing, deep throat breathing.
Instead of here.
Even doing that right now, I can feel how that tenses me up. It makes me think of when I've had anxiety attacks in the past where I forget that my stomach can, to do the belly breathing. Yes. Even my tongue starts to touch the top of my throat. Like it makes my throat feel like it's closing up versus the letting my stomach fill up.
And then just... Yeah. And isn't it amazing just one or two of those sometimes when you're at a place of anxiety or escalation and you're like one or two of those and you're just like in a whole new place, you know, whole new place to make different decisions, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden your world isn't burning as much, right? Or whatever. And like that energy, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about there. There's a duality here, not a duality, but there's a twofold place I'll talk about here. One's in combat, and I'll save that one for the second part. Yeah. And the first is I'll go to the same bar, okay? And in that bar, we had a couple like low down slobber knocker, just everybody just goes hog. Like a few people started it, and then for whatever reason on that occasion, everybody just like fuck it. This is where we're at, and this is what we're doing tonight.
It's like a food fight with grown men. And just fucking like someone throws the tomato, it splatters, and then everyone gets in. And lots of women.
Lots of women in flying purses. Actually, the one who instilled the most violence on me was a woman with a purse. She did the most damage.
There you go.
Yeah, even though I got
watch the purse hand.
Yeah, I got hit solid twice too by some decent punches, but the chin held up, and those purses were way worse because they're like, there's like things in there, and they're using it like a bolo.
Oh yeah,
and they're whipping it. And then the zippers are hitting you.
I mean, with all the makeup and shit that women carry in their purse, it's basically like a designer brick. I've seen women that are carrying these big stuff. Yeah, literally, it's a brick that says Gucci or Dior on it. So getting hit with one of those in the face, especially if there's a makeup pen or like a nail clip or something, like whatever the fuck is in there, and that's sticking out of the zipper, and then it becomes like a spiked purse,
It's like just shrapnel flies out of it too, It's just like, it's a shit show.
For my apocalypse get out bag, I'm definitely gonna have a purse stuffed with makeup with some spikes sticking out.
There you go. Maybe a couple mirrors in there that can shatter into glass shards.
100%.
So the interesting thing about those, and they were all the same energy I'm gonna speak of, and there was like, of course, there's always maybe not always, but in the times that I've understood, if you're paying attention, there's always a few clues, or there's always a string of events that are leading to it. And the more you pay attention, the more you breathe, the more that you're aware of your surroundings and the situational awareness. And that's something you can drill on your own and do little drills and just fun games, right? Like I Spy. I Spy is like a kid's game of situational awareness, you know what I mean? And it grows from there. So I did notice there was a chain of events, but those events were very small, and those events were so small that if you didn't pay attention, everyone would miss it. But what you can't miss, and I think whether you breathe or not, we all have this ability, but there's an energy, and it feels like you can feel like a pin drop as right before it happens. And that energy is something you can really pick up on, and you'll notice other people start getting anxiety, but they don't know why. And the first time I ever experienced that was in combat. And like, it was, I actually was, while I was still in the Army, and it was one of the worst firefights we had. We were pinned down on a river for like 3 or 4 hours as a recon platoon. So a very small platoon of men, 17, I think we had that day. And we were out on these boats on like a riverine mission, reconnaissancing and scouting sites for medevacs, because a river is like a linear danger area, but it's also like a terrain feature that you can't cross without special equipment, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. So we were going up and down the Euphrates River, marking these spots. Now, you can't travel up and down a line for too long until
someone sees you there.
All the Indians see you. Yeah. So we're on that line, and we eventually, a couple hours in, got hammered. And the weird thing was, though, Zach, that was the first time I'd ever really picked up on that energy, and it was the morning of. So it wasn't actually right before. It was that morning of. We're all mission prepping and getting our stuff and our gear together, and we had like these ladders, and as the engineers had to blow this giant hole out of the side of the river and like concrete it so we're safe from gunfire just getting in the boats and all that, So we're doing that and prepping and getting down in the boats and stuff. And there was a couple of us that were all buddies, and we looked at each other like, hey, is something different about today? And they're like, yeah. And then my buddy Mike looks over at me, oh, we're gonna fucking get it today.